Back in early February, news reports of drone strikes in Pakistan's tribal area emerged. The drones reportedly killed at least 9 people, including 2 senior Al-qaeda commanders. In response, Pakistan's foreign ministry filed an official complaint with the U.S. Embassy, but according to American officials, the United States didn't carry out those attacks. The incident speaks to the broader issue of drone use in warfare. Information about the U.S. drone program in the remote tribal areas, hard to come by. The nomination of John Brennan, soon-to-be CIA director, has put the issue under the microscope. As President Obama's counterterrorism advisor, Brennan has had unique access to information on the drone program and has therefore faced tough questioning from Congress on the issue. Meanwhile, back in New York, the pilot of a jumbo jet coming in for a landing at JFK says he saw a drone out of his cockpit window. No confirmation or no details. The FAA is now investigating. The increasing use of drones for military and non-military uses raises a host of ethical and practical issues. And for more, I'm pleased to be joined by Pir Sha. He is the Edward R. Murrow Press Fellow at the Council on Foreign Relations. He is also a contributor at globalpost.com and has been writing extensively on the U.S. drone program, including a piece in Foreign Policy magazine called My Drone War. Pir, thanks so much for a few minutes. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Americans, I think, get why drones can be so appealing in a military matter. It keeps people out of harm's way. It keeps Americans out of harm's way. Allows us to target our enemies from a distance. What don't we know about what happens at the other end of those drone attacks? What do people in the area where we've been bombing with drones say about the program?
Actually, the problem with the drone war in Pakistan, especially in the tribal areas, is that there is so much secrecy and opaqueness surrounding this program. So whatever, even if the American drones, they kill senior Al-qaeda leaders, there is no verification from the American officials because the program is classified, so they are not supposed to talk on this. So, and in the Pakistani media, in most of the cases, they portray more civilian casualties than actually is the case. So there is no counter narrative to those false media reports which come out in the Pakistani press. And also the area is so, historically, it's inaccessible, it's very remote. People and the Taliban and other militants, they don't allow reporters, human rights workers, anybody who is not a Talib to go to the actual site of the attack and find out who actually has been killed and how many civilians have been killed, how much destruction has happened. So all these things complicate and portray the drone war as something bad and something which the Americans are doing in contrast or in opposition to the Pakistani government or public opinion.
So we don't really know what the split is on military targets versus civilians that we're actually hitting, and neither do the Pakistanis. Is that what I'm getting?
Yeah, I mean, the civilian casualties have been very few. And we know about them. I mean, people come out. If you kill innocent people, they will come out. As recently, Pakistani military were reportedly involved in some killings, and the people from the tribal areas, they came out into the main city with their dead bodies of their relatives. So you can't hide civilian casualties in the tribal areas. The problem is to find out who actually, how big a commander has been killed, like whether he was Al-qaeda number 1, number 2, and how much important he was in his contribution in the fight in Afghanistan. So these are the main problems, I mean, and also it's very difficult to separate the combatants from non-combatants. If you kill someone, a commander, like one famous Pakistani Taliban commander was killed with his wife, so you can't tell whether it's justified to kill his wife, which is a woman, which is a civilian so-called. So all these problems, all these issues is part of the drone war because it's a new warfare, and it will take time before all these issues surrounding it are sorted out.
Is it your sense that the continued reliance on, in fact, the increased reliance on drones, especially in the Pakistan border regions, is actually fostering anti-American sentiment? Are we creating more potential problems for us down the road as a result of using drones so much?
I mean, as I said earlier, it's not the use of drones which are fostering anti-American sentiments. It's the secrecy, it's the absence of a counter-argument from the American side to counter those arguments coming out of in the Pakistani media, exaggerating civilian casualties and saying that the American drones are they are violating Pakistani sovereignty, while there is a protocol between the Pakistani government, and we have seen that the Pakistani's Prime Minister, the President, and the Chief of the Army Staff have been asking the Americans to continue the drone strikes. So unless there is transparency and the Americans can counter and declassify this program, maybe hand it over to the Department of Defense, which rather than the CIA currently is the case, then I think in the presence of a counter argument to all these allegations, there won't be as much anti-American sentiments. Now it's the portrayal of the drone strikes by the Pakistani media which is fostering these sentiments, and not the drones themselves.
All right, Pir Shah, thank you so much for a few minutes of the time. Really appreciate it. Pir Shah, the Edward R. Murrow Press Fellow on the Council of Foreign Relations and the author of the articles that you see in front of you. That strikes me as being a little counterintuitive, that if we were more open about, oh yeah, we did this, that was us. He thinks it would reduce anti-American sentiment. That catch anybody else as being odd?
I don't know why anti-American sentiment in Pakistan rises to the level of things the American government cares about. I mean no disrespect to the people of Pakistan or its leadership, but I think the American government has calculated that they'd much rather take out Al-Qaeda folks than please public sentiment in Pakistan. I don't say that's the right decision, but I don't think I think the problem here is that the military value far exceeds the political damage, and that's a calculus that the Obama administration has made.
I kind of think the ship has sailed on this debate too. We're not going to walk back from our use of drones, but is anybody concerned that maybe it's not morally the right thing to do?
Well, I was struck by the fact that he's arguing that it's not the drone strikes themselves, but the way they're being portrayed in the media, and if we could come out and be more open about it and explain what we're doing, as you said, that might somehow, change sentiment. I think there is an argument to be made that it's not just the way they're being portrayed, but the drone strikes themselves and the impact that they're having on civilians and people in that country that impact how people think.
No one disputes that civilian impacts are an ethical issue. Does it matter whether it's a gun or a drone or a bomb? It seems to me that the argument that drones are somehow different than bombs, I don't understand.
Well, we can do missile attacks, we can do smart bombs. Remember from the first Gulf War, we saw the video cameras of the bombs.
These are smart bombs. That's what they are.
But they're just with drones as a.
But there's going to be what they euphemistically call collateral damage. Civilians are going to get killed. It's terrible. But it doesn't strike me that drones provide any evidence that there's more of that or less of it than with a bomb or a rocket or a gun or and any other weapon. This is one of the realistic consequences of war. It's terrible. But drones are not the problem. War is the problem.
Very tough decisions to be made. I was listening to what he said. What do you do if the terrorist is in the car, you have the information, he's rarely seen in public, you got a shot, but his wife is with him. So what do? I say take the shot. I mean, and I think most Americans would say, take the shot.
And I think most people would prefer that over sending in special forces or sending in a specified team or sending in the cavalry.
So if it's the right war and we're defending ourselves, and you can make that case, I understand that. But when it comes to a war in which, like the war in Iraq, for example, which there's real question about its origins, its justification, do you feel the same way?
That's a very good question.
It's one of the many reasons you're not president, Dominic.
We are going to keep this debate going on drones, not on Dominic being president. And we'd like you to keep this debate going online. Head to Facebook and Twitter to sound off. Should drones be part of the U.S. military strategy?
So are you going to nominate me now?
No.
I'm going to impeach him. We're going to take a quick break here on RFL. When we come back, we talk about the disconnect between Wall Street and Main Street. The Bell at the New York Stock Exchange was celebrating today, but their relief may not be shared by you at home. We'll explain why after this.